Well, first of all, how are you feeling?
I feel good.
Yeah.
I feel really good. Obviously, getting to get out with the guys a little bit today, and kind of just keep ramping up. So it feels really good though.
Do you have a there timeline or limitations right now?
I think kept the timeline pretty wraps. But like I said, I'm feeling good, and obviously, hopefully, pretty soon I can get back out there.
How tough was it to see the selection last week and you weren't on the team?
Yeah, I think there's disappointment for sure. Everyone in Canada would want to be on that team or any country that's going, but there's so many great players, and they got tough decisions to make. So obviously, you respect that, and but I think every player would say they would love to be on that team and disappointed not to. But like I said, it's a great team. You can't really be mad at the roster they pick. So there's no hard feelings for me.
Have they told you you're on the standby?
I believe so. Yeah. I talked. They were nice enough to give me a call kind of before it came out, and let me know obviously that I wasn't going to be there, but I'm pretty sure they did mention that. So yeah.
I know things have been more positive lately, but how tough was it was it a helpless feeling watching the guys kind of go through some struggles without you?
Yeah, I think just watching is a tough part of being out, but it's been so fun to watch the guys, and even we were losing, but I think there was so many positives, and you could just tell that it was a matter of time before we started getting the wins, and so many guys have stepped up and have been playing great. So I think it sucks being out and watching every game, and not being able to contribute is the hardest thing in the world, but just seeing how we're playing and just keep getting better. So that's obviously exciting to watch.
How much of the World Juniors did you get to watch?
Yeah, I watched a pretty good amount. I think some of us watched that Czech Canada game after the game, and then a little bit yesterday, and just so many good teams. I think anyone can win, which is pretty exciting. And obviously as a Canadian, you wish it went different, but it's just always such a fun tournament to watch, and obviously. Seeing, we had a couple Blackhawks prospects going out yesterday, and obviously it's good for Anton to win that. It's pretty special moment, so, happy for him especially.
Burakovsky said you owe him something, but
yeah.
he wouldn't say what it was.
I know. We talked about it a bit before the semifinals, and, we thought that it might be Canada-Sweden final, so that would have made it a little bit more fun, but he didn't have to stress it all, so, yeah, I got to give him a little something.
How happy are you with the way you were playing up to December 12th, what you've been able to do so far?
Yeah, I think there's definitely positives for me. I thought I was growing in a lot of areas of my game, and I think as a guy who wants to make plays, wants to create offense, that's obviously maybe the biggest part of my game. But I just want to keep improving kind of all over the ice, and I think I've been doing that, but just keep striving to get better in that area.
Did they give you an explanation of Canada, or do they kind of explain their decisions, or do you even want to know, or does it matter?
It doesn't. I don't know. I don't think it. I don't know. I don't need to know too much, but I think the positive that I've taken out of this is I get to look at my game and where can I improve when you don't meet an expectation or meet one of your goals, and I think. The only thing to do is look in the mirror and, see where you can get better. So that's a exciting opportunity for me. And at the end of the day, the players pick the team and how you play. And obviously, I feel like I was playing well, but, of course I want to make it where there's no choice. And, that's not on who's picking the team, it's on the players. So I think that's the positive I've taken out of that. And it's exciting for me.
You'd play tomorrow if you could, couldn't you?
I would have played against Detroit, so but that's that's part of it. We got a lot of great people working with us, and as a player, you're always going to be. You just tell me you feel good and you're ready to go. But obviously there's importance in your health and everything. So I'm very lucky to have the people working with me that I do, and the people in the building. So I feel fortunate for that.
What's it been like going through rehab? Well, Frank's going through rehab, a lot of time that you spend talking to one another as you're dealing with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the last thing I want is anyone going through it, with me or anyone going through rehab. Obviously, that's a terrible part of the game. But when it does happen, I think for both of us, just having each other to stay positive and I think we're both, attacking it really well and, approaching it the best we can and with positivity. So at the end of the day, that's all you can do. And, I think having him to push me to push him, and it's just going to make us more comfortable and better when we come back.
Well, what's going through your mind when you're skating off in St. Louis? Like, is the mind racing, worst case scenario kind of rolling through your head?
No, I just kind of wanted to get my gear off, and it's a little pain. So just trying to get rid of that. But I think once you settle into it, I think on the plane ride home, just trying to, I think you expect the worst, hope for the best, and that's kind of how I thought about it. But obviously you want to be back as quick as you can, and you always want to be playing. So whenever something happens, that's kind of in your mind. But overall, I feel like I stayed, pretty positive throughout, and just trying to keep that mindset and try to, not only get back to where I was playing, but be better than I was before I got hurt. So that's kind of my approach to it.
Great. Good to see Connor take at least a partial practice and just kind of see how he progresses from here.
Yeah, no, I thought it's great to have him back out there. Kind of involved in some of the team drills. Those were, kind of the flow type drills. But we'll keep progressing him. It's great to see him. Great to see the jump that he has. So it's awesome.
Same with Frank. I know he hasn't practiced with you yet, but still good that he's out there.
Good for Frankie to be skating. He's further away than Connor, but it's a good step in the right direction for sure. And I think he started with eating solid food and moved towards this, so that's good.
Do you think Connor could be a full participant in practice Thursday?
I know today's not playing tomorrow. I don't know if we're going to practice Thursday, to be dead honest with you. My thought would not be to be and kind of go pregame skate. So I can't answer that, whether he would be or wouldn't be. He won't play tomorrow, and then we'll kind of take it day by day from there.
Connor was asked about Team Canada, and he put it on himself almost, or saying that I need to be better. Is that fair, or is that? I imagine that's just his personality too. Or?
Well, listen. I think if you're, I think I say like anybody else, you always want to kind of look in the mirror first and say, did I do everything possible to put myself in the very best position I could? And I think in the end, his kind of approach this year, although I know it was I don't want to say a goal, but maybe a goal, something he would have loved. But his bigger approach was, becoming the best player he could for us and trying to help us win. And I think he was continuously improving in those areas as well. So, listen, as I said, I don't have any opinion on whether somebody should or shouldn't be on that team. They're hard teams to make. And I think, as him and I spoke, he just continues to grow his game. And I think he's a world-class player.
Do you think the team's in a good spot right now, halfway through the season?
I honestly, I don't really look at it that way, to be dead honest with you. I get that it's a halfway point-ish. We're kind of, we constantly evaluate where we're at. We want to have, kind of long-term goals in a sense of things that we want to be really good at as we continue to head forward this season and beyond. I like the fact that I think we're making progress in some areas. I think we're better. We have a little bit better habits than we did to start the year. We're a little better fundamentally defensively than we did to start the year. I think we're growing our game, especially in the O zone, our offensive zone play. I think we've been a pretty good rush team all year, but there's a talent involved in that too. And with Connor and Frank, the rush game can come, I don't want to say easy, but somewhat easy at times. So I do think there's a lot of areas in our game that we're growing, both individual habits and as a team. And to me, that's the biggest thing. It's just that continual look towards that growth. And said it, from the beginning of the year to now, like you're either taking steps towards greatness or you're taking steps away, and you're never going to have a perfect, it's not just all going to go one direction. You're going to take some steps backwards, but let's take as many steps forward as we can. I think we're doing that. So from a cultural sense, I like where our culture's at. From a game, individual habit sense, I think we're getting better, and from our kind of team game, I think we're getting better.
When Kaiser was playing with Murphy, he was talking about trying to create more offense, and he kind of did that. And now that he's with Artie, he's talked about trying to play back a little bit and let Artie be more committed to what he wants to do. Is Kaiser's kind of versatility and chameleonness helpful when you're putting these different pairs together?
Is that an actual word? Can you say this just at the
I
end?
don't think I'd write
at
that.
anything you want. I would say, you know, Kai's done a good job. He's good with Artie in a sense. He probably Kai's talks as much as anybody, and he's kind of got a big brother approach with Artie, and he talks him through drills in practice, talks him through stuff in the game. I think, you know, Kai's is still a young player though. Like, he's still finding his game and how he can be great at this level, and what that's going to exactly look like. You know, what level of offense compared to what level of defense. You know, I've said to all our players, like, at the end of the day, you have to have more pluses than minuses, and the more minuses you have, the harder it is. You got to be elite in order to kind of even that out. So, you know, I think Kai's game in general, honestly, for me, I don't think really his game should necessarily change. I do get the understanding that with Artie, you know, Artie's starting to really attack the game, so I got to be cognizant of not, you know, beating him up the ice and things like that. But I think Kai's can create offense just from the offensive blue line and through the ability to move the puck. That's where, and skate the puck and then move it. Be a breakout guy, be a regroup guy, be good in the offensive end without taking on a lot of risk. So I think he can still do that with Artie, but I do get the idea, you know, that he's a good fit for Artie because, you know, he understands to kind of let Artie be Artie.
Do you think something's clicked with Artie lately where he's been even more aggressive?
Yes, zero doubt about it. I think the last 3 games or so, Artie's taken it to another level in terms of attacking the game offensively. It's something we've talked about for a long time. Why it clicked, I don't know. You know, but I think, you know, this is something that's been a constant message from us to attack the game, to kind of, you know, he's so strong too that even when he gets himself in trouble, sometimes on high ice, and I get really nervous, he seems to win the puck back and does all that stuff. It's amazing actually, because he is really, really strong. So we want to see him push his game that way and see what that ceiling looks like. And you know, I told him, you know, I asked him if he knew what a rover was. He had no idea. And I said, like, I'm okay with him being a rover at times offensively. Just win the race back to our end. And if you know, I think if you look at the best D, the Makars, the Hughes, the Wierenskis, they're up in the play, but they always win the race back to their end. And, you know, I know Hedman did that. You know, certainly when he was young, he would always win the race back. So I think Artie's got that powerful skating stride. He can be involved offensively and keep pushing that envelope and then just win that race back to our end.
What has Burakovsky meant to your team this year, and are you surprised that he's not part of Team Sweden's Olympic plans?
You know, again, those teams are so. Again, let me preface by saying I don't have an opinion on. I'm not involved in the decision making. I think, you know, Andre would have done a good job of put himself in conversations. You know, I don't know where he was at going into the year. I have no idea. Andre Burakovsky's been a big piece for our team. He's a fun guy to be around, so he adds some stuff in the locker room that I think is really important. He's been good in that area. He's a kind of a puck control guy that when Connor was playing, I thought was a really, really good fit for Connor. You know, he's smart. He can play off him. I think the last couple of games, to be honest with you, he's really taken this game to another level without Connor. It's the best he's looked without Connor, and you know, and that's kind of what we needed. We needed everybody to kind of rise their game up a little bit, and he's certainly done that. So I've really enjoyed being around him. I think he's a guy who cares. He wants to win. He's working at some of the habits that I think need to get better. You know, when he comes back in his own end and stops, he's a way better defensive player than if he's kind of wheeling out. And so those are habits that we've been working on together. But he wants to do it. He listens and he wants to be. He wants to grow his game. So I've been real impressed with him.
With Connor and Frank being out, we've seen other players get more opportunities to step in, specifically with like Oliver Moore and Ryan Green and Nick Lourdes as well. When those guys come back, how do you expect those players to kind of keep their game going that they've grown in the last few years?
Yeah, I mean, I think you take that stuff day by day. I don't think you ever get too ahead of yourself. Like, I don't know what our lineup's going to look like when those guys come back, to be honest with you. You just don't know what happens the next day. You know, I think ultimately, you know, all those guys have had, certainly you get opportunity. I don't know if Oliver would have got a chance at center had we not had any injuries. So now he's had the opportunity at center. Will he stay at center when guys come back? I can't answer that today, but I know that I'm getting a good look at him at center, which is an important thing, I think, even long-term for us. You know, minutes-wise, it's always going to be dictated a little bit by certainly our lineup, but also how they play. You know, I think, you know, the other night I thought Greener's line was really going, so kind of within a 4-line rotation, kind of pump them out there a little bit more because they were really going. The previous game of that, there's been games where all these lines been really going, and try to pump them out there a little bit more. So their play will dictate some of that. I think in the schedule we're at right now, we have to be a 4-line team. I just don't think you can have success playing 16 games in 30 whatever days and not be a 4-line team. So it's gonna be less. There were times this year where Connor played upwards of 22, even 24 minutes. It's hard to me to get a spit out of my mouth because that's too much. But we're going to have to do more than that 18 to 20 for guys that are on the high end and have a little bit more from some of the other guys. So I think they'll still get ample opportunity, and they just got to make sure their play dictates that.
Can I ask about Ethan Del Maestro, kind of what the plan for him is?
It's a good question. Right now I have those other 3 lefties ahead of Ethan on a night-to-night basis, and I don't want to take one of them out. So I don't anticipate Ethan playing tomorrow. We're cognizant of the fact that he's sat for a while. He hasn't been in a game, so we've got to get him in a game. Whether it's in a game with us, whether it's something, whether it's send him back down to Rockford, one way or the other, we've got to get him in a game eventually. No concrete plans on that yet, but eventually we've got to get him playing a little bit. I don't want him to just sit out and just practice with us, so we're certainly cognizant of that.